Blessed today.
Давайте скажем большое спасибо нашим друзьям.
Let's say thank you to our friends.
И мы благодарим Бога за вас.
And we thank God for you.
И сейчас будет очень важная тема.
And right now we're going to have a very important
Не хочу
topic.
затягивать.
I don't want to take too much time.
Хочу приходить сразу же straight to the point.
I want to get straight to the point.
Потому что эта тема очень сильно связана со всеми нами.
And this topic has to do with every one of us.
И у меня большая просьба.
And I have to ask you a favor.
Пожалуйста, у меня эта просьба ко всем.
And this favor is for everybody on us.
Когда вы будете слушать эту тему,
When you will listen to this next topic,
не думайте в этот момент о других людях.
don't think about other people.
Потому что
during this
это
session,
им не поможет.
because it won't help the other people.
Думайте только о себе.
But think only of yourself.
Таким образом, сам спасешься и другим поможешь.
In this way, you'll save yourself and help others.
Давайте поприветствуем еще раз. Ричард, come
Let's
on.
please welcome Richard.
Thank you so much.
Woo! Down.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Back.
Добрый день всем.
Okay, as we embark on the last study,
И мы сейчас начнем самую последнюю сессию.
this potential leadership disqualifier
Это что дисквалифицирует лидера?
is important for me,
Очень важно для меня,
but it's also important for me to let you know that I haven't overcome all the traps.
и очень важно для меня, чтобы вам сказать, я еще не преодолел все.
With this particular subject.
С этой сессией.
But I'm committed
этой
to
темой.
get better.
Но я стараюсь быть лучше.
So let's jump in.
И давайте просто начнем.
The leadership disqualifier that we're going to be looking at and
Что
discussing
дисквалифицирует лидера и на что мы будем смотреть?
is complaining, murmuring, and grumbling.
Ропот, ворчание и жалобы.
Maybe we should stop now.
Может, мы сейчас закончим, здесь остановимся.
So just to be clear,
Чтобы быть просто ясны здесь.
stating our needs is not complaining.
Когда мы говорим о наших нуждах, мы здесь не жалуемся.
As long as we're not trying to blame someone else for our situation.
Если мы не обвиняем человека за нашу ситуацию.
Expressing emotion such as sadness
Но когда мы выражаем эмоции как
is not
печаль,
complaining.
это не жалоба.
As long as we're not making our feelings another person's fault.
Если мы не делаем наши чувства вину чьего-то другого.
Now, we all need to feel heard
Мы все должны чувствовать, что нас услышали
and understood.
и понятыми.
There's nothing wrong with sharing our feelings
Нету ничего плохого, чтобы поделиться чувствами
about what's been hard for us.
за то, что было для нас тяжело.
That helps us to go through the hurts or the disappointments
Это нам помогает перейти эту боль,
and move on.
пережить и дальше идти вперед.
But
Но
complaining
когда мы жалуемся,
is when we blame others
виним других
or life
или жизнь виним,
instead of accepting the situation
нежели как просто принять ситуацию
and taking responsibility to make things better.
и брать ответственность, чтобы улучшить нашу ситуацию.
So we're going to have a survey,
И здесь мы будем поднимать руки, да или нет.
and you can raise your hands.
И вы можете поднимать свои руки.
How many times a day do you complain? Is
Сколько
it
раз в день ты жалуешься?
less than 5?
Меньше,
Show of
чем
hands.
5 раз? Пожалуйста, покажите руки. Меньше, чем 5 раз.
We have one person
У
less
нас
than
есть
5.
один человек. Это хорошо.
Between 5 and 10?
Между 5 и 10 раз.
You know, when you go out on the highway and you're complaining about the other drivers,
Когда ты на фривее едешь, и ты жалуешься на других водителей.
and you go to the restaurant and you complain about the service,
И ты идешь в ресторан, и тебе не нравятся услуги там.
and you go to work and you complain about how those people who show up late every day,
И ты идешь на работу, и другие сотрудники поздно
There's-
приходят на работу.
those people who go to lunch and take too long at lunch.
Или люди, которые идут на ланч покушать и слишком долго там застряли.
How about between 11 and 20 times a day?
Может быть, между 11 и 20 раз в день.
More than 20 times a day.
Может быть, кто-то больше 20 раз жалуется.
Oh, gosh. Oh, help us. Oh, that's not right. I tell you what happened to me.
Я вам расскажу, что со мной было.
I flew into Charlotte Airport.
Я прилетел в Шарлотт, в аэропорт.
They had to reposition the plane to a gate that was further away from baggage claim.
Самолет заехал подальше, чем там, где я должен за сумками пойти.
I started complaining.
Я начал жаловаться, жалобу.
How come they moved the plane way over here?
Почему они самолет так далеко посадили?
I didn't even thank God that we got here safely.
А я даже Богу не сказал спасибо, что мы прилетели безопасно.
First thing out of my mouth was a complaint.
Первое, что вышло с рта, это жалоба.
But I already did my notes, so I couldn't change them.
Но я уже написал свои мысли здесь, и я не мог их поменять.
So here's the question.
Вот есть вопрос.
What are some common complaints that people complain about? What are some common things you complain about?
Какие у вас есть жалобы, о которых вы жалуетесь?
It's too hot. It's too cold.
Слишком жарко, слишком
It's too
холодно.
hot. It's too cold. Why they keep turning that up? Oh, God. So, a few years ago, I read a book.
Несколько лет назад я прочитал книгу.
This book, The Energy Bus.
Эту книгу «Энергичный автобус».
And the book talks about just the whole issue of complaining.
И эта книга говорится о жалобе, и наша проблема с этим.
It has 10 rules to fuel your life, work, and team.
10 правил, чтобы свою жизнь дальше двигать и твою команду наполнять позитивной энергией.
With positive energy.
Позитивной энергией.
And I can give the book away to one of the young leaders.
Я могу книгу отдать один из молодым лидерам здесь, кому-нибудь. Вот.
Oh, gosh. So in the book, John Gordon, he just talks about some of his experiences associated with complaining.
И в этой книге Джон Гордон говорит о его проблеме, с чем он сражался, и о жалобах.
So let's take a look at just a short clip of
Давайте
him talking
посмотрим
about the book.
маленький клип о нем, как он говорит о книге.
I am not naturally a positive person. I grew up in Long Island, New York. In a Jewish Italian family. A lot of food, a lot of guilt. A lot of wine, a lot of whining. But in my life and my pursuit of wanting to be a more positive person, I wrote a book called The Energy Bus. Who here has read The Energy Bus? Okay. Both of you, awesome. All right. But it's a very excited too, so that's great. Well, for those who haven't read it, it's about a guy named George who's miserable and negative. His team at work is in disarray. He has problems at home, and he wakes up Monday morning to a flat tire. And George was just fed up with life. And he was very easy to write because he was based on me. He was based on my own personal struggles with negativity and adversity and challenges. And so he has this flat tire. He walks inside. He asks his wife to take him to work, and she won't, guys. That was also based on personal experience. So now he has to take the bus to work. And he gets on the bus, and he meets Joy, the bus driver. She calls him Sugar. And she and a cast of characters teach George the 10 rules for the ride of his life that not only help him become a more positive person, a better leader, but a better father, a better husband. It's about getting his team on the bus and moving in the right direction with a shared vision, focus, and purpose. And in many ways, it's a story about a leader having to overcome negativity, adversity, and challenges to define himself and ultimately his team's success. I really believe that George represents the fact that optimism is a competitive advantage, that optimism allows us to overcome those challenges, to ultimately create the future.
So being optimistic.
Будь оптимистом.
Now, do you know of any chronic complainers?
Вы знаете каких-то хронических
Like
жалобчиков?
in your work life, can you see the person's face?
В вашей жизни есть кто-то, приходит кто-то вам на ум?
What's it like being around them?
Как вы чувствуете, когда вы в их окружении?
So just consider, Pastor Terence was talking about the children of Israel.
Просто представьте, пастор Теренс говорит о детях Израиля.
And he talked about the occurrence where persons were challenging Moses' authority.
И он говорил о ситуации, когда его лидеры вызывали его лидерство и вызов ему давали.
And he got all the way to the point
И он дошел до того момента,
of how God dealt with them.
как Бог с ними справился.
Let me show the whole thing.
Вам поделюсь.
So the way that God dealt with these complainers,
Как Бог справился с этими жалобчиками?
he told those that lived around them to
Сказал, те,
move
которые
away.
живут вокруг вас, окружают вас.
He said, run.
Он сказал, бегите,
I'm about to show them
я им сейчас покажу,
who I gave delegated authority.
кому я дал делегированную власть.
That's awful. Oh, gosh. And it came to pass,
И пришло время,
as he had made an end of speaking all of these words, and this was Moses saying to the congregation, listen, God said, move away from their tents.
ибо слово Господня не презрел, и заповедь его нарушили.
When he had finished speaking, the ground opened up
Когда он закончил говорить, земля открылась
and swallowed up all of the 250 leaders
и съела все 250 лидеров,
and their families and their tents.
и их семьи, и их палатки.
He killed them all.
Всех убила.
So here's the question.
И вот есть вопрос.
Do you think a spirit of complaining is ever beneficial?
Думаете вы, что дух жалобника это позитивно, ропот это позитивно?
Now, as the children of Israel was, again, this band of complainers,
И дети Израиля, они как группа людей, которые роптали,
they were going through the wilderness,
они переходили пустыню
and they started to complain to Moses about not having water.
и начали роптать Моисею, что у них нету воды.
So Moses went to the Lord and said, what am I to do with these people? They're getting ready to stone me.
И Моисей пошел к Богу и сказал, что мне делать с этими людьми? Они меня сейчас побьют камнями.
So the Lord said to him,
И Господь ему сказал,
this is what I want you to do.
вот что я хочу, чтобы ты сделал.
I want you to take the rod that you use to divide the to divide the sea.
Я хочу, чтобы ты взял посох, который ты раздвинул море,
And I want you to go and smite this rock,
и хочу, чтобы ты ударил по скале,
and water will flow from the rock.
и вода потекет из скалы.
So Moses went
И Моисей пошел,
in front of the people, and he smote the rock.
и перед людьми он ударил по скале.
Water came out, and the people drank.
Вода полилась, и люди пили.
Now, the big question is, why was Moses not allowed to go into the promised land?
И большой вопрос, почему Моисей не вошел в обетованную землю?
And it's all related to Moses breaking the pattern.
Все связано с Моисеем, как он поломал этот ход.
So in Numbers 20, 8 through 12,
Числа, 20 глава, с 8 по 12,
they get to a point where the people start complaining again.
они пошли до того места, где люди опять начали роптать.
Moses goes to God and says, these people are really getting on my nerves.
Моисей пошел к Богу и сказал, эти люди мне уже надоели.
So God said to Moses, okay, take the rod
И Бог говорит Моисею, возьми посох,
and go and speak to the rock,
иди и скажи камню,
and water will flow.
и вода потечет.
How many times was Christ crucified?
Сколько раз распяли Иисуса?
Once.
Один раз.
But Moses got upset,
Но Моисей обиделся.
and he and Aaron gathered the people,
И он, и Аарон собрали людей,
and he had some very angry words towards them,
и у него были злые слова к ним.
and he smote the rock twice.
И он ударил по скале 2 раза.
And in doing that, he broke the pattern.
И сделая это, он вышел из того, что Бог ему сказал.
Because Paul let us know in 1 Corinthians
Потому что Павел сказал в 1 Коринфянам,
that the rock that followed them was Christ.
что камень, который следовал за ним, это был Христос.
He was only smitten once.
Его только распяли 1 раз,
Moses did it twice.
а Моисей сделал 2 раза.
The people still drank,
Люди все равно пили,
but the result was this.
но результат был такой.
The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron,
Господь говорил с Моисеем и Аароном,
because you did not believe me,
потому что ты мне не поверил,
to hallow me in the eyes of the children of Israel.
чтобы перед глазами детям Израиля
Therefore you shall not bring this assembly
ты теперь не будешь вести этого народа
into the land which I had given them.
к земле обетованной, которую я вам дал.
He said to Moses,
Он сказал Моисею,
go to the top of the hill,
иди наверх горы,
I'll come up and see you.
я пойду там с тобой увижусь.
Joshua, you're up,
Иисус Навин, ты следующий,
because he functioned outside of the authority that was given.
потому что Моисей функционировал снаружи авторитета, который он был дал.
And there
дано
was a
было.
penalty.
И теперь было наказание.
So we can't just do what we want,
Мы не можем делать, что мы хотим,
say what we want.
говорить, что мы хотим.
We've got to function within that authority
Нам нужно функционировать внутри этой власти.
because it's important.
Это очень важно.
Now, when we think of complaining,
И когда мы говорим о ропоте,
chronic complaining
хронический ропот или люди
is
жалуются
spiritually,
духовно,
emotionally,
эмоционально
and physically harmful to yourself and other people.
и физически это тебе приносит плохое к тебе и твоим и людям окружающим.
Some people usually complain without even knowing it.
Многие люди, они роптают, даже и не зная.
They do it just out of habit.
Они делают это из-за того, что у них уже просто привычка.
Other people do it on purpose.
А некоторые люди делают это специально.
But either way, complaining is negative.
Но жаловаться это всегда негативно.
Studies have shown that negative thoughts
Ученые доказали, что негативные мысли,
that we would have constantly
которые у нас есть постоянно,
has a negative effect on our brains.
делают негативные влияния на наш мозг.
When we consider other organs in the body,
Когда мы смотрим на другие органы в нашем теле,
studies have shown
ученые доказали,
that even our nervous system
что даже наша нервная система
is negatively impacted by complaining.
негативно влияет ропот на нас.
In addition, other regions of our bodies
И к этому добавление, что другие места наших тел части
can change because of this bad habit.
могут даже измениться из-за этой плохой привычки.
A person's heart and digestive system
Даже наше сердце и пищевая система
suffers from the effects of chronic complaining.
также страдает из-за того, что мы роптаем или жалуемся
This
хронически.
increases the likelihood of suffering from diseases like diabetes,
Это повышает нам шанс диабет заболеть,
obesity,
и обжирение,
high blood pressure,
высокое давление,
just from complaining.
только из-за того, что мы жалуемся.
So when we consider complaining,
И когда мы думаем о ропоте,
it's a poison,
это как яд.
and it impacts our spirits,
Это влияет на наш дух,
our mental faculty,
даже в голове, что у нас происходит,
our emotions,
наши эмоции
and our physical bodies.
и даже наше физическое тело.
Now, three things that complaining can also do.
И три вещи, которые жалобы делают тоже.
It impacts the attitudes of other people.
Влияет на характер или отношения с людьми.
Complaining is contagious.
Жалобы — это как ты можешь заболеть от него. Заражается.
It poisons our attitude
Заражает наш характер или
because we
отношения.
can start just envisioning a darker world.
Мы потому что начинаем представлять темный мир.
And complaining also has us not trust God.
И жалобы также нас приводят к недоверию Богу.
Because we would just blame God. It's
Потому
His
что
fault.
мы просто виним Бога и говорим, это Его вина.
Even when we look at negative films,
Даже когда мы смотрим нехорошие фильмы
news and television programs,
или негативные новости или телевидение
they
какие-то,
also have a negative impact on our psychological health.
они имеют влияние на нашу психику, психологическое здоровье.
So one of the things that we would want to do,
И одно из вещей, которые мы хотим делать,
Psalms 19 and 14 says this,
Псалом 19:14 говорит:
"May the words of my mouth,
«Пускай слова моего рта
and the meditation
и мои мысли
of my heart
моего сердца
be always pure and pleasing
будут всегда святые и
and acceptable before your eyes,
приняты Тебе,
Yahweh,
Яхве,
my Redeemer
живет
and my Protector."
Хранитель.
So we want our thoughts
И мы хотим наши мысли,
to be acceptable to God.
чтобы были приняты Богом.
We want our words to be acceptable
Мы
to
хотим,
God.
чтобы слова наши были
We want
приняты
the
Богом.
meditation of our hearts to be
И
acceptable
чтобы
to God.
мысли нашего сердца были Богу нравились.
Complaining isn't a part of it.
Ропот — это не часть этого.
So the reason I don't complain
И причина, почему я не роптаю,
is because of His sacrifice.
это из-за Его жертву.
So let me introduce you to the next video. This is Nick.
Позвольте мне вам показать следующее видео, представить
Some of you already know his story.
человека по имени Ник, и вы
But let's-
знаете о нем уже.
Let's let the video clip speak for itself.
Пускай видео о себе скажет.
This is Nick and his family.
Это Ник и его семья.
And let's take a look at faith, hope, and love.
Давайте посмотрим на веру, надежду и любовь.
Imagine getting through your busy day without hands or legs. Picture your life without the ability to walk, care for your basic needs, or even embrace the ones you love. How would it be? Miserable, right? Meet Nicholas James Vujicic.
Now life I see as an opportunity. This circumstance, there's got to be something good.
No arms, no legs.
No worries, mate.
Without any medical explanation or warning, Nick was born in 1982 in Melbourne, Australia, without arms and legs. Even his mother at first refused to see him when the nurse held him in front of her. But she eventually accepted the condition and understood it as a God's plan for her son. Nick's early days were gruesome. Throughout his childhood, he not only dealt with the typical challenge of school and adolescence, but he also struggled with depression and loneliness. He was so ridiculed and tormented in school that at the age of 8, he even attempted to drown himself and end his life for good. He questioned the purpose of life, or if he even had a purpose. On the other hand, his parents never gave up on him. They were very supportive. In all his days of hardship, Nick and his family kept believing in one thing and one thing only, that is God. As he grew up, Nick decided to focus on his abilities rather than his disabilities. He started doing great in high school with his newly gained confidence. Nick was elected captain of McGregor State in Queensland, Australia. He worked with the school council on fundraising events and began speaking at prayer groups. He started learning to take care of his personal needs such as combing his hair and brushing his teeth. He began spending his day as every normal person would. He made use of his toe to write down things on his notebook and even type in keyboards. He participated in sports such as golf and swimming. Nick has even done skydiving, and today there's literally nothing that he can't do. According to Nick, the victory over his struggles, as well as strength and passion for life today, can be credited to his faith in God. His family, his friends, and the many people he has encountered along the journey have inspired him to carry on as well. Nick thrived in his teenage and young adult years despite being bullied. After his mother showed him a newspaper article about a man dealing with a severe disability when he was 17, he started to give talks at his prayer group. Since his first speaking engagement at the age of 19, Nick has traveled around the world, sharing his story with millions, sometimes in stadiums filled with speaking to a range of diverse groups such as students, teachers, young people, business professionals, and church congregations of all sizes. In 2005, Nick founded Life Without Limbs, an international nonprofit organization and ministry. In 2007, he made the long journey from Australia to South California. And since then, there's been no turning back for Nick. In Texas in 2008, he found the love of his life.
I wondered, would I really find the superwoman that I would really need, who is not worried about the fact that I have no arms and legs and see the love that I could offer?
They got married in 2012, and the couple now has 4 children together. As of today, Nick has written quite a few books and inspired millions of people all over the world with his motivational speeches and writings.
The first thing I want you to take away from today is this: you will have good days and you'll have bad days, but you will always learn something more or something new, and you will learn more overall on bad days than good days.
He's an acclaimed author, a musician, a motivational speaker, an actor, and most importantly, a loving husband and a caring father to 4 beautiful children. Nick has already accomplished more than most people achieve in a lifetime. Instead of looking at his weakness as flaws, Nick has embraced them for what they were and turned them into his greatest strengths. Sometimes it's too difficult to try and change the circumstances you're in, but Nick's story teaches us all to instead use our weaknesses to our advantage.
So the question is this:
Вот такой вопрос.
when is it appropriate to complain?
Когда можно жаловаться или роптать?
The Apostle Paul says this in 1 Corinthians,
1 Коринфянам говорит,
and it's related to the story that Pastor told earlier.
и оно связано с историей, которую пастор говорил пораньше.
And he says, don't be like the children of Israel
Говорит, не будьте как дети Израиля,
when they were wandering through the wilderness,
когда они путешествовали по пустыне,
nor complain
и не роптать,
as some of them did,
как они роптали.
and were destroyed by the destroyer.
И они были разрушены разрушителю.
Stop complaining.
Перестаньте жаловаться.
So there is, I have another book,
У меня есть еще одна
same
книжка.
author,
Такой же писатель.
The No Complaining Rule.
Правила, чтобы не жаловаться.
So And he talks about
Он там говорит,
no energy vampires.
когда нету энергии вампиров.
Let's take a look at this clip.
Давайте посмотрим на этот клип.
But when the challenge hits, do we look at it as a challenge or as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to improve, to get better? When we face change, do we focus on fear or faith? What do fear and faith have in common? Faith believes in a positive future. Fear believes in a negative future. And if neither has happened yet, why wouldn't we choose to believe in the positive future? Why wouldn't we choose to believe that our best days are ahead of us, not behind us? We got to feed ourselves with the positive because we will face negativity as well. We will face people I call energy vampires out there in the world. And we have to be more positive than the negativity we face. And sometimes those energy vampires are actually not far from us. For me, it was my dad. I remember telling my dad, I want to be a writer and speaker. I found my calling, Dad. His response, what the heck do you want to do that for? That's a load of junk. That won't amount to anything. A couple years after his encouraging advice, I got on the Today Show. The show was called Get Energized Today. I remember flying up to New York. I was terrified to be on national television. I got to the green room. They sat me next to Queen Latifah. Oh, we had a very energizing conversation. It came my time to go be with Matt Lauer. I'm walking towards the door, and I hear Queen yell, "You go, energy guy." I didn't know what to call her. I said, "Thank you, Queen." And then I went out there and I coached several people on enhancing their energy and their optimism for their work. As I walked out of the studio, who called me on the phone? My dad. "Your mother and I just saw you on TV. You really made a difference. We're so proud of you. We always knew you could do it." This year, I want to encourage you to post that sign that says, "No energy vampires allowed." Gandhi said, "I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet." And country wisdom teaches us, never wrestle with a pig because you'll both get dirty and the pig likes it. See, here's the deal. Our positive energy must be greater than all the negativity. It's that simple. Our belief, our faith in what we're here to do, in the difference we're here to make, and the God we're here to serve must be greater than all the negativity and doubt.
And this reminds me of a verse in the book of Jude.
И это мне напоминает стих в книге Иуда.
It says, avoid these people.
Это избегайте таких людей.
These are grumblers,
Это ропотники,
complainers,
ничем недовольные,
walking according to their own lusts,
поступающие по своим похотям,
and their mouths great swelling words.
и их уста их произносят надменные слова.
Flattering people to gain advantage.
Они оказывают лицеприятие для корысти.
Sounds like a politician.
Звучит как политик.
I'm sorry.
Я извиняюсь.
So, this is what I needed when I arrived in Charlotte.
Вот что мне надо было, когда я приехал в Шарлотт.
I needed to embrace a heart of gratitude.
Мне нужно было иметь сердце, которое довольное и благодарное.
In 1 Thessalonians
1 Фессалоникийцам
5:18,
5:18.
it said this,
Так написано.
and in the midst of everything,
И во всяком деле
be always giving thanks.
за все благодарите,
For this is God's perfect plan
ибо такова о вас воля Божья
for us
для нас
in Christ Jesus.
во Христе Иисусе.
Now, the U.S. Marines have a doctrine,
И наши военные в Америке имеют свое правило.
and they would always talk about improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Они говорят, что импровизируйте, адаптируйтесь и преодолевайте.
Improvise, think differently.
Импровизировать — это думать по-другому.
Adapt, behave differently,
Адаптируйтесь, ведите себя по-другому.
overcome, achieve the goal.
Преодолевайте, достигайте цель.
So let's look at a video clip
Давайте посмотрим на видеоклип,
that we're going to finish with today
с которым мы сегодня закончим,
that shows the reality of overcoming.
который показывает реальность, преодолевать.
And as you watch this video clip,
И когда вы смотрите на это видео,
listen to the faith of the parents.
послушайте веру этих родителей.
Every morning, Kashmir Culberson gets ready, just like you. And that's important to remember. Because how she gets ready is probably not like you.
I don't put on eyelashes every morning. I try to sometimes, but
If you've never seen someone use their feet in this way, it is fascinating.
I guess the way I carry myself, like I'm not sad about anything or nothing.
The precision and flexibility and that relaxed vibe that every stroke of a brush is no big deal
I'm just happy in my own skin. I'm figuring it out just like everyone else.
is how Kashmir's lived since the day she was born, when doctors told Tomika and Philip Bomar their daughter was born without arms.
The way we believe in our faith is God don't make any mistakes.
They turned their grief into support for a little girl who started figuring things out faster than they'd ever dreamed.
Everything was just with her feet, like holding her bottle, her pacifier, she would flick in and out with her toe. We would just like watch, we were like, okay, well.
Fast forward 22 years. And Kashmir's making videos showing how she cooks, does her hair, and other everyday activities to delight her over 100,000 followers online.
I want people to see me in person and see me on my YouTube, and there's no difference. I just want to be myself.
In each clip, we see a 22-year-old woman who's figured out her place in a world not built for her and who doesn't shy away from sharing it. That is strength.
I really came a long way from me not having self-esteem and confidence to me being who I am now and like what I'm doing now.
Born out of a vulnerability you don't often see.
It's just like embracing everything that's going on, because I don't know, it just took me a while to get to really like where I am.
This is Kashmir's heart cracked wide open.
But yeah, because this life is not easy. Because adapting, I just had to learn how to adapt. And so everything it wasn't easy.
But she continues to adapt. The challenges keep getting bigger, and so do the wins.
How I used to be and now, it's a big difference,
How Kashmir lives her life may not be like you, but we all might be better off if we learned to approach it just like her. In Dallas, I'm Marie Saavedra.
So James exhorts us in 5 and 9,
Иакова 5:9 говорит, что Бог нас превознесет.
do not grumble against one another,
Не судите, братья, друг на друга,
lest you be condemned.
чтобы вы не были бы осужденными.
Behold, the judge is standing at the door,
Вот судья стоит у двери,
and he hears everything.
и он все слышит.
So the big question is, when is it appropriate to complain?
И вот такой большой вопрос. Когда можно роптать? Я закончил. Спасибо.